And welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben. This is my review for Netflix's original trilogy horror series. This is part 2, Fear Street, 1978. I'm very excited to talk about this. Let me know in the comments, have you read the trilogy? Which is your favorite? Did you think the first part was scary? How much are you looking forward to this? Let's jump in. Shadyside, 1978. School's out for summer and the activities at Camp Nightwing are all about to begin. But when another Shadysider is possessed with the urge to kill, fun in the sun becomes a gruesome fight for survival. So the first part, the 1994 part, I really enjoyed, but I didn't find it that scary. I liked the kills that we had in that. I thought when it got down to it, there were a couple that were really clever. But it never really had me going, yeah, I'm kind of creeped out now. It was more making me wonder where the story is going to go. And if we're seeing the end, if this is the end point, kind of, how's it going to keep you invested if we know where it's going to go? So it did get me kind of wondering what this is going to look like in the future. And so at the end of episode 1 or part 1, we see them talk to another character, and that character then starts telling her story, which was where we see the majority of the second part. It does nicely shape in, and for the majority that is in 1978, but we do have a chunk of the film that kind of goes back to the normal timeline and starts developing that story. So now we kind of have an idea of, oh, okay, so they're going to tell their stories in their different time periods, and then we're going to get that fruition in part 3, and explaining everything that's going along. The thing that I loved about part 2 is that it really kind of ticks everything that you would love from camping's serial killer horror films, from Jason Voorhees to Halloween, any kind of camp I guess camp serial killer movie that you've seen. The things that go along that were made in those times, like in the 70s and 80s, is definitely in this film. And so we get those killings, we get the characters doing things you're telling them, no, don't go into the woods alone, don't go into that there alone, don't go, go for a pee. If you're a virgin, definitely don't have sex now, because that's that's one of the prerequisites. If you go back to screen and you hear about the laws that will get you killed, it's kind of ticking all of them, and I thought that was fantastic. And then we get the score that they've just gone for the time zone, but made it so relevant. It's definitely a character which I love. It also feels like the director, or at least the person putting together the score when it comes to the editing sequences, was just a huge fan of Supernatural. If you're a huge fan of the Supernatural TV series, there are a couple of themes or songs that are totally reoccurring that somehow really work in this film. It's right for the time zone, but also reminds you of Supernatural. For me, that was like a nice little nod. And then you get the cast, which I'm sure you can look up on IMDb, who are fantastic. You like them and hate them. There's going to be characters that you just find really annoying, or characters that you kind of like, yeah, I hope they die. I really don't like that character. And I don't know if you ever come across those characters that are just so unlikable, and you're like, I don't like that character. There's also kind of redemption story arcs, which is very clever, because sometimes you start with really not liking a character at one point, and then you go on this journey with them, and by the end you're like this, going, please don't die, because they've done such a good job at giving those characters some backstory, some arc, and that kind of works with our characters here. So by the time you get to the end, you kind of know what's going to happen. You kind of wish it's not going to happen, because you're already in the future, you kind of know what's happened, but you like the characters so much that you're like, oh, maybe somehow they'll survive, right? But if the first part's to go anything by, they've kind of taken some of the rules of groups that you think would survive an encounter like this, and then don't, and then so that brings you a uneasiness into this one. So that's part of why I liked it. And then it comes down to the filming. There's a lot of claustrophobic encounters in small cabin spaces, in caves, really over-the-shoulder shots, spaces that are dark and really atmospheric, and this is why the second part for me worked a lot better than the first one. They just found that temper and tone exactly right for this type of horror, made it fun, made it not too serious, kept it grounded for the story, and somehow made it the Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. Even though I haven't seen the third part yet, I think I'll be seeing it this week sometime. I just think, yeah, this is the right balance. It's perfectly balanced, as Thanos would say, in between. So we can't wait to see what happens, but it's also its own unique story, as the first part was. A lot of fun. I'm going to give this an A. Thanks so much for watching my review. Let me know in the comments below, who is your favorite actor in this film. Thanks so much for watching. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.